Imagine waking up one day to find two children missing, their mother seemingly unconcerned, and her new husband linked to multiple mysterious deaths. This is the chilling reality of the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case, a story that has shocked and captivated the nation. Lori Vallow and her husband, Chad Daybell, are not your average couple. Lori, a seemingly devoted mother, and Chad, a self-proclaimed prophet with extreme doomsday beliefs, stand accused of the unthinkable, the murders of Lori's two children, Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow. The children's remains were found buried on Chad's property, leading to a series of investigations that unraveled a web of deceit, religious fanaticism, and multiple deaths within their families. But what drove this couple to such extremes? How did their beliefs play a role in these tragic events? And what can we learn from the series of missteps and warnings that were ignored along the way? In this video, we will take you through the haunting details of this case, exploring the backgrounds of Lori and Chad, the timeline of the children's disappearance, the discovery of their remains, and the ensuing legal battles. Prepare yourself for a deep dive into one of the most disturbing true crime stories of our time. Lori Vallow, once a seemingly loving mother, became embroiled in a series of bizarre events after meeting Chad Daybell, an author of doomsday-themed books. Chad's influence led Lori down a path of extreme religious beliefs, convincing her that her children were zombies and that the end of the world was near. This belief system not only affected their relationship but also led to the tragic outcomes that followed. The disappearance of Tylee and JJ was shrouded in mystery and deception. Initially, Lori claimed the children were safe, staying with friends or relatives. However, these claims quickly fell apart as investigators delved deeper. Friends and family members reported strange behaviors and disturbing statements from Lori and Chad, raising alarm bells about the children's safety. In June 2020, the remains of Tylee and JJ were discovered on Chad's property in Rexburg, Idaho. The grim discovery confirmed the worst fears of their loved ones and the public. The children had been missing for months, and the search for them had garnered national attention, turning the spotlight on Lori and Chad's increasingly bizarre actions and statements. As we unravel the timeline of events, you'll see a pattern of manipulation, deceit, and a disturbing descent into fanaticism. We'll explore how Lori and Chad's beliefs led to multiple deaths, including the suspicious death of Chad's former wife, Tammy Daybell. The couple's actions have left a trail of heartbreak and confusion, and the legal battles that followed have been closely watched by people around the world. Stay with us as we dive deep into the unsettling details of the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case, examining the motivations behind their actions and the tragic consequences that ensued. This is a story of twisted beliefs, broken families, and a community left searching for answers. Lori Vallow, born Lori Norn Cox, appeared to lead a normal life before the events that would later make headlines. Born in 1973 in California, Lori was known as a devoted mother and a deeply religious woman. She had several marriages, each with its own set of challenges. Her third husband, Joseph Ryan, was the father of her daughter Tylee Ryan. Lori's fourth husband, Charles Vallow, was the father of JJ Vallow, whom they adopted. Charles described Lori as a loving mother, but things began to change dramatically after she became involved with Chad Daybell. Chad Daybell, born in 1968 in Provo, Utah, led a life deeply entrenched in religious beliefs from a young age. He graduated from Brigham Young University with a degree in journalism and went on to work as a cemetery sexton, a job that inspired his early writings. Chad wrote numerous books focused on doomsday scenarios and the end times, which gained him a following among certain radical religious groups. His writings often depicted apocalyptic events and supernatural experiences, which he claimed were based on his own visions and near-death experiences. Chad's books, including titles like The Great Gathering and Standing in Holy Places, focused on preparing for the end times and attracted a niche audience within the Latter day Saints community. He founded Spring Creek Book Company with his first wife, Tammy Daybell, where he published his works and those of other like minded authors. Chad's teachings and beliefs grew more extreme over the years, eventually leading to the development of his own set of apocalyptic ideologies. Lori and Chad's paths crossed in 2018, and their meeting would set off a chain of events that no one could have predicted. Lori was drawn to Chad's charismatic personality and his doomsday prophecies. The two quickly formed a close bond, sharing and reinforcing each other's extreme beliefs. Lori became convinced that she and Chad were chosen to lead 144,000 followers in preparation for the second coming of Christ. This belief system began to dominate their lives and decisions, ultimately leading to tragic consequences. Friends and family noticed drastic changes in Lori's behavior after she met Chad. She became increasingly obsessed with his teachings, claiming to receive her own revelations. Her relationship with Charles Vallow deteriorated, and Charles expressed concerns about Lori's mental state and her influence on their children. In early 2019, Charles filed for divorce, citing Lori's erratic behavior and her threats against him. Tragically, Charles was shot and killed by Lori's brother, Alex Cox, in July 2019 in what was claimed to be self-defense. Meanwhile, Chad's wife, Tammy Daybell, died under mysterious circumstances in October 2019. Initially ruled as natural causes, her death was later deemed suspicious and her body was exhumed for further investigation. Within weeks of Tammy's death, Lori and Chad married in Hawaii, raising further suspicions among investigators and the public. Together, Lori and Chad delved deeper into their apocalyptic beliefs, isolating themselves from those who questioned their actions. Their relationship and radical ideologies set the stage for the events that would follow, culminating in the tragic deaths of Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow and a series of legal battles that continue to unfold. The disappearance of Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow is a tale marked by a series of disturbing events and suspicious behavior that ultimately led to a tragic end. Here, we will outline the timeline of their disappearance and the initial investigations that followed. September 2019, the disappearance begins. Tylee Ryan, 16, and JJ Vallow, 7, were last seen in September 2019. Tylee was last spotted on a family trip to Yellowstone National Park on September 8th, along with Lori, JJ, and Lori's brother, Alex Cox. JJ was last seen at his school, Kennedy Elementary in Rexburg, Idaho, on September 23rd. Following this, Lori withdrew JJ from school, claiming she would homeschool him. November 2019, alarm bells ring. Concerns began to rise in November 2019 when extended family members reported they hadn't heard from the children in weeks. Lori's behavior had become increasingly erratic, and her explanations about the children's whereabouts were vague and inconsistent. Friends and family became worried, prompting JJ's grandparents, Larry and Kay Woodcock, to request a welfare check on the children. On November 26, 2019, Rexburg police visited Lori's townhouse to conduct the welfare check. Lori and Chad Daybell told officers that JJ was staying with a family friend in Arizona, a claim that was quickly proven false when the friend denied having JJ. The following day, police returned to Lori's home with a search warrant, only to find that Lori and Chad had abruptly left town. December 2019, suspicion grows. As the investigation intensified, police began to uncover more alarming details. On December 6th, Lori's friend Melanie Gibb informed the police that Lori and Chad had asked her to lie about JJ's whereabouts. This revelation, combined with the couple's sudden departure, raised serious suspicions. On December 11th, authorities exhumed the body of Chad's former wife, Tammy Daybell, who had died in October 2019 under mysterious circumstances. Her death, initially thought to be natural, was now considered suspicious. The autopsy results, later released, revealed that Tammy had died due to asphyxiation. On December 12th, Alex Cox, Lori's brother and a key figure in the case, was found dead in his home in Arizona. His death, reportedly due to a blood clot, added another layer of complexity to the investigation. Before his death, Alex had been implicated in the shooting death of Lori's fourth husband, Charles Vallow, which was initially ruled as self-defense. January 2020, public outcry. By January 2020, the case had gained significant media attention. On January 3rd, investigators, along with the FBI, executed a search warrant on Chad Daybell's property in Salem, Idaho. They seized several items, including electronics and documents, hoping to find clues about the children's whereabouts. On January 25th, Lori was served with a court order in Hawaii where she and Chad had relocated to produce the children within 5 days. She failed to comply with the order, leading to her arrest on February 20th in Kauai, Hawaii. Lori was charged with desertion and non-support of dependent children, among other charges. She was extradited to Idaho in March 2020. June 2020, the grim discovery. The breakthrough in the case came on June 9, 2020, when investigators executed another search warrant on Chad Daybell's property. Tragically, they discovered the remains of Tylee and JJ buried in shallow graves. Tylee's remains had been dismembered and burned, while JJ's body was found wrapped in plastic and bound with duct tape. The discovery confirmed the worst fears of family members and the public. Chad was arrested the same day and charged with concealing evidence. The case against Lori and Chad quickly escalated, with both facing multiple charges, including first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. The initial investigations highlighted numerous red flags and missed opportunities to protect Tylee and JJ. Public statements from law enforcement emphasized the couple's lack of cooperation and the bizarre nature of their beliefs, which seemed to underpin their actions. The case continues to develop with ongoing trials and the search for justice for Tylee and JJ. The search for Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow reached a devastating conclusion in June 2020 when their remains were discovered on Chad Daybell's property. This discovery marked a critical turning point in the investigation, providing concrete evidence of the children's tragic fate and leading to significant legal repercussions for Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. June 9, 2020, the breakthrough. On the morning of June 9, 2020, law enforcement officers, including the FBI, descended on Chad Daybell's property in Rexburg, Idaho, armed with a search warrant. This was not the first time investigators had searched the property, but new evidence and leads prompted a more thorough examination. The search focused on specific areas of the yard that had previously raised suspicions. As officers combed through the property, they discovered human remains buried in two separate locations. The first set of remains was identified as those of JJ Vallow. His body was found in a shallow grave, wrapped in plastic and bound with duct tape. The second set of remains, discovered in a nearby fire pit, were those of Tylee Ryan. Tylee's remains had been dismembered and burned, making the identification process more challenging and heart-wrenching for investigators and family members. Forensic experts worked meticulously to analyze the remains, piecing together the circumstances of the children's deaths. JJ's remains were relatively intact, allowing for a quicker identification. The condition of Tylee's remains indicated that she had been subjected to extreme measures to conceal her identity and cause of death. The dismemberment and burning of her body pointed to a deliberate attempt to destroy evidence. The forensic analysis provided crucial insights into the timeline of the children's deaths and the methods used to conceal their bodies. Investigators believed that the children had been killed shortly after they were last seen in September 2019. The discovery of their remains confirmed suspicions that Lori and Chad had lied about the children's whereabouts and engaged in an elaborate cover up. The public reaction to the discovery of Tylee and JJ's remains was one of shock, outrage, and profound sadness. The case had garnered widespread attention, with many people following every development closely. The heartbreaking confirmation of the children's deaths brought an outpouring of support for their families and renewed calls for justice. The media coverage of the discovery was extensive, highlighting the tragic end to the months long search and the bizarre circumstances surrounding the case. News outlets detailed the search process, the conditions of the remains, and the reactions from law enforcement and family members. The story resonated deeply with the public who had hoped for a different outcome. Family members of Tylee and JJ expressed their grief and relief that the children had been found, but their statements also conveyed anger and a desire for justice. Larry and Kay Woodcock, JJ's grandparents, spoke publicly about their heartbreak and their determination to see Lori and Chad held accountable for their actions. They thanked law enforcement for their relentless efforts in finding the children and urged the community to continue seeking justice. The discovery of the remains led to immediate legal actions against Chad Daybell. He was arrested on June 9, 2020, and charged with concealing evidence and later with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Lori Vallow, already in custody on charges related to the children's disappearance, faced additional charges following the discovery. The legal proceedings against Lori and Chad have been complex and closely watched by the public. The evidence gathered from the search of Chad's property, combined with forensic findings, has played a pivotal role in building the case against them. The couple's bizarre beliefs and actions have been scrutinized, providing a disturbing context for their crimes. The tragic discovery of Tylee and JJ's remains brought some closure to their families and the community, but also highlighted the depth of the couple's deception and the devastating impact of their actions. As legal proceedings continue, the search for justice for Tylee and JJ remains a central focus for all those affected by this heartbreaking case. Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell's relationship was deeply intertwined with their shared doomsday beliefs, which played a significant role in their actions and the tragic events that followed. These beliefs, rooted in extreme religious ideologies, influenced their behavior and led to a series of disturbing outcomes. Chad Daybell was an author of several doomsday-themed books that focused on apocalyptic events and the end times. He claimed to have experienced near-death experiences that allowed him to receive visions from beyond the veil. Chad's writings and beliefs found an audience among certain radical groups within the Latter-day Saints LDS community. He preached about preparing for the end times, often speaking about the imminent return of Jesus Christ and the need to gather the 144,000 chosen ones. Lori Vallow, a devout member of the LDS Church, became increasingly captivated by Chad's teachings after meeting him in 2018. She adopted his apocalyptic views, which included the belief that certain individuals, including her own children, were possessed by dark spirits and had become zombies. According to Lori and Chad, these zombies needed to be eliminated to prepare for the end of the world. The couple's beliefs led to a radical shift in their behavior. Lori became estranged from her family and friends who noticed her growing obsession with Chad's doomsday prophecies. Charles Vallow, Lori's fourth husband, expressed concerns about her mental state and extreme beliefs, which eventually led to their divorce proceedings. Charles warned authorities that Lori believed she was a godlike figure responsible for ushering in the apocalypse. Friends and family members testified to the changes they observed in Lori and Chad. Chad. Melanie Gibb, a close friend of Laurie's, recalled how Laurie and Chad's conversations were dominated by their apocalyptic visions and plans. Laurie's brother, Adam Cox, also expressed alarm at her increasingly erratic behavior and detachment from reality. Chad's influence extended beyond Laurie as he gathered a small but devoted following of individuals who shared his apocalyptic views. This group, often referred to as a cult, reinforced each other's beliefs and participated in activities centered around preparing for the end times. The group's extreme ideologies created an echo chamber that fueled their dangerous actions. Testimonies from those close to Laurie and Chad painted a picture of two individuals consumed by their beliefs. Laurie's former friends described her transformation from a loving mother to someone who believed her children were no longer her own. Melanie Gibb recounted a conversation where Laurie claimed that Tylee and JJ had become zombies and needed to be dealt with. Chad's family also witnessed his radicalization. His brother, Matt Daybell, publicly pleaded with Chad to cooperate with the authorities and expressed concerns about Chad's increasingly extreme beliefs. Matt distanced himself from Chad's actions, highlighting the stark contrast between Chad's earlier life and his descent into fanaticism. The testimonies of those who knew Laurie and Chad before their radicalization provide crucial insights into how their beliefs drove them to commit heinous acts. Their shared doomsday ideologies created a dangerous environment where delusions were treated as divine instructions, ultimately leading to the tragic deaths of Tylee and JJ. Laurie and Chad's case serves as a chilling example of how extreme beliefs can distort reality and drive individuals to commit unthinkable acts. Their story continues to unfold in the courts, but the impact of their actions on their families and community will be felt for years to come. The discovery of Tylee and JJ's remains on Chad Daybell's property led to swift legal action against both Laurie Vallow and Chad Daybell. The charges against the couple were severe, reflecting the gravity of their alleged crimes. Laurie Vallow and Chad Daybell faced multiple charges, including first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and grand theft. Laurie was initially charged with desertion and non-support of dependent children, but after the discovery of the children's remains, the charges escalated to include murder. Chad faced similar charges, including concealment of evidence and conspiracy to commit murder. Key moments from the court trials. The legal proceedings were closely followed by the media and the public, with several key moments standing out. June 2020 arrests. Chad Daybell was arrested immediately after the discovery of the remains, charged with concealing evidence. Laurie, already in custody for child abandonment, was recharged with more severe offenses. Preliminary hearings. During Chad's preliminary hearing in August 2020, prosecutors presented evidence linking him to the burial sites. Witnesses included law enforcement officers and forensic experts who detailed the grim discoveries on Chad's property. Indictments and trials. In May 2021, a grand jury indicted both Laurie and Chad on multiple counts of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and grand theft by deception. The indictments provided a comprehensive timeline of their alleged actions and motivations. Mental health evaluations. Laurie underwent multiple mental health evaluations to determine her competency to stand trial. These evaluations delayed proceedings but were crucial in ensuring a fair trial process. Joint and separate trials. Initially, the prosecution aimed to try Laurie and Chad together. However, the defense requested separate trials, arguing that a joint trial would be prejudicial. The court granted this request, leading to separate legal strategies for each defendant. Guilty pleas and sentencing. As of now, both Laurie and Chad have pleaded not guilty and their trials are ongoing. The proceedings are expected to be lengthy given the complexity of the case and the volume of evidence. The legal battles continue, with both defendants facing the possibility of life imprisonment or even the death penalty if convicted. The tragic deaths of Tylee and JJ have had a profound impact on their families and the community. Family members, especially JJ's grandparents Larry and Kay Woodcock, have been vocal throughout the ordeal. They expressed immense grief and relief when the children's remains were found. Larry Woodcock, in a poignant statement, said, "Our hearts are broken, but we are grateful for the answers we have now." The community in Rexburg, Idaho, where the children were last seen, rallied in support of the victims' families. Vigils and memorials were held to honor Tylee and JJ, with hundreds attending to pay their respects. The case also attracted widespread media coverage, highlighting issues of child protection and the dangers of extremist beliefs. The intense media scrutiny has kept the case in the public eye, ensuring that the quest for justice continues. The community's support and the relentless pursuit of answers by law enforcement have been crucial in this complex case. The Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case is a stark reminder of how extreme beliefs can lead to devastating actions. The deaths of Tylee and JJ are tragedies that have left a lasting impact on their families, friends, and community. We explored the backgrounds of Lori and Chad, their disturbing doomsday beliefs, the timeline of the children's disappearance, the discovery of their remains, and the ongoing legal proceedings. Each step in this case has revealed the depths of their deception and the tragic consequences of their actions. If you found this deep dive into the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case informative, please like and subscribe to our channel for more true crime content. Share your thoughts in the comments below and let us know what other cases you'd like us to cover. Your engagement helps us bring more stories to light and keeps the conversation going about the importance of justice and awareness. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more updates on this and other compelling true crime stories.